I saw an article a couple of hours ago that said that Quinn Ewers could potentially be a top 10 pick in the 2024 NFL draft. Now, I don't think this is a crazy hot take. Now, where I rank Quinn Ewers right now in terms of where he ranks amongst the other draft eligible quarterbacks for next year's draft, I have him at QB 4 and 5. My thing with Quinn Ewers is that last year was his first season ever starting a college football game. And I wasn't expecting anything crazy, but you got to remember that coming out of high school, he got a lot of hype. He was one of the highest rated recruits ever in history. So, of course, the expectations were going to be through the roof. But Quinn Ewers, I felt like his first season starting at Texas was the definition of a roller coaster. He had some really big performances. Ideally, that game against Alabama when he was going off. I mean, everything that you look for in a potential first round quarterback, you saw in Quinn Ewers' performance against Alabama. You look at a quarterback who was really good at making decisions with the football, a quarterback who made a lot of big throws and tight windows. He did that against Alabama, and he also showed really great accuracy in that game against Alabama. And if he never would have got injured, I'm pretty confident that Texas would have pulled off that upset. But then after that game, Quinn Ewers never really looked like the same quarterback that he was against Alabama. And a large reason for that was, like I said earlier, it was his first season starting. So anytime you have an inexperienced starter, there's going to be some ups and downs. And he's a really streaky player. A streaky player is somebody who, they have stretches during the game where if they start out fast, they're going to have a really good game. But if they have stretches where they start the game out a little bit slow, then they're just going to have a bad performance for the whole entire game. And with Quinn Ewers, I see a lot of streakiness in him. He has inconsistency with his accuracy, his footwork needs work, but that's what you expect coming from a first-year starter in college football. And this dude is fairly young. I think that he went to Ohio State at the age of 17. So I expect Quinn Ewers to improve this year. Now, I don't know if he will be a top 10 pick if he ends up improving. I will at least need another season for me to tell if he's worthy of being a top 10 pick, because honestly, the only two QBs that I feel will be worth taking in the top 10 right now in next year's draft is Caleb Williams and Drake May. And outside of that, there's a lot of question marks with some of these other QBs, like Michael Penix. You wonder if he can stay healthy. Bo Nix, I like him, but I think that he's more of a late first rounder than he is being a top 10 selection. So you look at Quinn Ewers, what I do like about him and what potentially could catapult him to being in a top 10 discussion in next year's draft is the fact that this is somebody who is really good at throwing the football from different arm angles. He can throw the football on the run. He can change his arm angle and still get the ball out. And I think that one thing that I really loved about Quinn Ewers' games that really stood out to me the most was the fact that he has incredible ball placement. And you don't really see that from a guy who struggles with being consistent with accuracy. But his ball placement was really good at times. It does help when you're throwing to a guy like Xavier Worthy, but I think that his ball placement is some of the best that I've seen. And I think that he gives me a lot of CJ Stroud vibes. I think that he could be a more athletic version of CJ Stroud, because maybe Quinn Ewers, maybe we get to see him run a little bit more and show a little bit more of his mobility this year at Texas. But for right now, I'm going to say I could see Quinn Ewers being a top 20, top 15 pick, a mid-round selection if he ends up reaching his potential with Texas this year. And even if he reaches his potential, you know, I know some people are going to be like, man, JT, this dude was one of the highest rated recruits ever. What you mean if he reaches his potential? If he reaches his potential, isn't he a top 10 pick? It's like, you're telling me that Quinn Ewers is going to be good enough to be one of the third quarterbacks taken off the board in next year's draft? I mean, Drake May and Caleb Williams, we know that they're probably sure in things to be top 5, top 10 picks. But outside of that, how many teams really need QB? And right now, I don't really see Quinn Ewers, even if he ends up reaching that ceiling, being a top 10 pick, because his arm isn't as good as what I initially thought it was. And plus, he doesn't really have the elite athleticism that you're looking for from a quarterback that ends up getting drafted that high. So for Quinn Ewers, you know, if he ends up playing well and he ends up developing and he ends up reaching his potential, I view him more of a mid-round selection because he probably is going to have a little bit more work that's going to need to be done. So he'll probably be a mid-round selection. He'll be somebody that'll have some high upside. He'll be somebody that you'll take a risk with. You'll let him sit for 1 year as a starter, and then eventually he'll end up becoming a really good starter in the league. But a top 10 pick, I feel like a top 10 pick, you either got to have one or two things. You either got to have elite, out-of-this-world potential, or you got to be somebody who can come in right away and be an impact starter. And I don't really see that in Quinn Ewers. Like, coming out of high school, like, I understood the hype, but watching him last year, like, I didn't really see all the out-of-this-world potential. Like, I think he has potential to be a really good starting caliber quarterback at the NFL level, but him being a top 10 pick, I don't know, man. I don't really think he has that kind of ceiling like a guy like Anthony Richardson had. Like, oh, he may be a little bit raw, but if you can put it all together, he's going to be one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the game. I don't think he has that kind of ceiling, and I don't think he's going to be a guy who could come in and be an impact starter right away. And this is just based off from what I saw last season. So I think that Quinn Ewers, if he ends up putting it all together this year, which I believe that he will, Steve Sarkisian is really good with developing the quarterback position. I think that he probably could catapult himself into the first round conversation and be a mid-round, late first round selection. But him being a top 10 pick, I just don't know about yet, because you got to see the elite potential, and I don't really see anything from Quinn Ewers that shows me, yeah, like, this guy could be one of the best quarterbacks in the game if he puts it all together. Like, I think he can be a really good quarterback. Not saying that he couldn't be like a top 10 QB or anything like that, but being a top 5 quarterback in the game, that's kind of what you're looking for when you're drafting a quarterback in the top 10. Somebody that has elite upside, or somebody that has good enough talent where they can come in and start right away. And I don't think that Quinn Ewers is going to fall in either one of those categories. I think he's going to be more somebody who has a really good season, and he's going to have some potential moments to flash this season. Like when they play Alabama on the road and Tuscaloosa again this year, they're going to have a really good game, potentially against Kansas, Oklahoma as well. So Quinn Ewers is going to have some opportunities to show everybody that he deserves to be not just a first round pick, but a top 10 pick. But right now, like, I really don't think that Quinn Ewers has that kind of ceiling to be a top 10 selection. Now, some of y'all may be like, man, JT, you think Quinn Ewers can't be a top 10 pick, but you think Joe Milton will be? Like, yeah, like, Joe Milton's potential, fam. Like, have you not seen Joe Milton throw a football, dog? Like,
come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Joe Milton probably has one of the strongest arms in the history of American football. Out of Jamarcus Russell, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Milton can fling that thing, and plus, he's a better athlete than what Quinn Ewers is. So, Joe Milton has the kind of upside that can make him a top 10 pick, even if he doesn't have a season as good as Quinn Ewers. The size, the arm strength, and the athleticism is what's going to catapult him into that discussion. Quinn Ewers doesn't have that. Like, his arm strength isn't as good as what I thought it was. He does have good arm talent, but he's not as great as an athlete as I initially thought he was coming out of high school. It's like the people that were giving him these star ratings and all this praise coming out of high school, is like, watching him right now, I see it, but at the same time, I don't see it. Like, I still see somebody who is capable of being a first round pick, but I don't see anybody who is going to be this great quarterback that everybody was tapping him out to be when he was coming out of high school and he was getting all this hype. Like, I think he may just be a tad bit overhyped. Okay? Like, I get why people were excited about him, but at the same time, even in his best games, it's still like, okay, like, I see the hype, but he still isn't showing me anything crazy. Like, if you're one of the highest rated quarterback recruits ever, I expect you to be able to show me a little bit more when it comes to what you bring to the quarterback position, not just as a passer, but as a runner as well. And we didn't really get to see that a lot out of Quinn Ewers last season. So could Quinn Ewers be a top 10 pick? He could be, but for me personally, even if he ends up having a good season, I think he's going to end up being a top 15, top 20 projection at best.